Why would you ever spend more on a phone when just over £300 can get you something this good? It's a question I always ask myself when I test Nothing's mid-range devices. They're so thoughtfully designed, perform well and have great software features married in a way which seem really cohesive with the hardware. This is the Nothing 3A, the company's latest model, and in a smartphone market where so much feels stagnant and samey, Nothing offers a rare glimmer of fun. Maybe even something worth being excited by. I'm Cam Bunton, this is Trusted Reviews, let's dive in. Now sometimes the reason for adding design features is just because we can or because it's cool. And for me that's a reason that's more than justified, especially when you look across the smartphone landscape and see nothing but a bunch of very samey looking rectangles. So why not add a transparent back and some flashy LED strip lights and accents under the glass to give your phone a very clear visual identity? It's an approach that's worked well for Nothing and continues with the Phone 3A. Exposed screws and micro-textured dots, lines and dimples cover the surface underneath the transparent back, with that classic red square accent there to add a splash of colour. And rather than using plastic on this affordable phone's back panel, Nothing swapped it out for glass, giving it a more premium feel than before. It all combines to give the phone a playful character. Like last year, the top third looks like a head with camera lenses for eyes, and the bottom third looks like the body. Now what I like about Nothing is how the design elements marry up with the software design and the features. Most prominently, that's been shown in the Glyph lights on the back, which can flash and pulse when you get notifications, or be used as a torch, or even sync up with music or video playing through the speakers as a sort of visualizer. This year, the marrying of software and hardware also has been added to in form of a dedicated button on the side which launches something called an essential space. The only problem with this button that I found while testing it is that because it sits on the right side, right under the wake and sleep key, I usually press it accidentally. It can be a bit of a pain and arguably would be better in a different position, because I'm far more likely to lock my phone and unlock it using the wake button than I am to want to get into the essential space. But more on that later. Otherwise, the phone is your usual large rectangular slab with flat edges, generously rounded corners and a flat front surface. It's splash resistant to IP64 levels, which means don't drop it in water, but it should be okay in light rain or if you use the phone with wet hands. Now, as mentioned, I have to talk about the features and the software on this Nothing phone because after all, it's what makes a Nothing phone a Nothing phone. The overall interface has that retro charm Nothing phones have always had, with the stylized fonts and monochrome theming with splashes of red. And it permeates the entire interface with new useful widgets and icons added with every new software update. Now, Essential Space. Think of this as a tool to help you remember stuff. That's probably too basic a description, but the idea is you press the Essential button on the side while you're looking at something. It could be something on social media that triggers a thought that you need to check something out, or an ad showing some cool sneakers, a nice top, some interesting tech piece that you want to go back and look at properly later. When you press and hold the Essential button, it screen grabs whatever is on the screen. And while you're holding the button, you record a voice note or ask your phone to remind you of something. A quick double press of the button accesses the space, while a single press takes an initial screen grab, which you can then add to your space without a voice note by pressing the Essential button again. What happens next is pretty clever. Using AI, it goes on a bit of a research trip around the web to determine what's in the picture, and then eventually adds it to your Essential space with a description and, if you've set a reminder, tags a reminder onto it with the option to cross it off when you're done. Think of it as your own AI-powered digital corkboard which you can pin ideas, thoughts and reminders to. It can be genuinely useful. Nothing OS 3 comes with some genuinely useful and other just delightful widgets too. Like the music playback widget for playing and pausing whatever music is playing on the phone, which also then shows the album or cover art for that specific song. Or the calendar widget, which shows the dates, but every new day lets you flip over a new leaf to the current date. It's not necessary, but it's an example of the playful nature of Nothing's Android skin that makes it so nice to use. Where it lacks a little is in major update commitments. Nothing will offer major Android updates for 3 years, with a further 3 years for additional security patches. Now, just a couple of years ago, if you bought a mid-range phone, that usually meant when it came to cameras, you'd get one fairly decent camera and two very mediocre ones, usually a terrible ultrawide and a low-resolution macro sensor. That's not the case with the Nothing Phone 3A. Nothing's phone has 3 fairly solid cameras which can perform well, Granted, again, it's not flagship level performance, but at the same time, it's a versatile and capable enough system that it'll suit most buyers in many different scenarios. The exact makeup here is a 50 megapixel main with both optical and electronic stabilization, then a 50 megapixel telephoto zoom with 2x optical range and a 4x in-sensor zoom, plus an 8 megapixel ultrawide. Of the three, that last one is the weakest. Now, while those specs may make it seem like it's similar to top tier devices, it's worth noting that the sensors are smaller than the really expensive phones. That means that as good as they are for this price point, they don't compete really with the top end phones in terms of light and color capture or low light performance. The primary and zoom cameras are particular strengths though. In daytime with good light, you'll get well-balanced pictures captured quickly with good levels of detail and, while slightly oversaturated, colours that don't veer too much into the realm of hyper-real Samsung-like colours. Even in bright situations, however, it's clear that the ultra-wide is the poorest of the bunch, struggling often to retain details, resulting in overly soft pictures that are also a little dark and lacking in balance between highlights and shadows. The 2x zoom camera is strong in well-lit scenes too, offering sharp, well-balanced images which look decent even up to 4x zoom thanks to that in-sensor cropping. Try pushing it any further than that and it comes up quite short, with blurry, dark and soft images lacking sharpness and dynamic range. Definitely one to use for close-up shots of flowers, plants and portraits of animals and people, but not one to use to zoom in really close to objects and scenes with some distance away from you. It's in the low light situations that the ultra-wide and zoom cameras show more clearly that they're not quite in the same leagues as the expensive phones. Despite the night mode algorithm designed to clean up any motion blur from shooting handheld, neither reliably produces sharp in-focus shots. So if you're someone who takes lots of shots in poorly lit environments like pubs, clubs and the like, the primary camera is the one to stick with. Or you have the option to spend a bit extra and buy the Nothing Phone 3A Pro instead, which has a better periscope zoom camera which also has both optical and electronic stabilization. Otherwise, it's hard to be overly critical of the Nothing Phone 3A's cameras, especially in well-lit scenes. It takes photos that are more than good enough for sharing on social media or with friends and family, and it's reliable too. Now, just like so much of this phone, the display is another area where it seems to outperform its price tag. It's a really wonderful panel. The combination of 120Hz adaptive refresh rates and a peak brightness up to 3000 nits means it's smooth and sharp under motion, but also great for watching all manner of content, including HDR shows. Perhaps more impressive than the 3000 nit peak HDR brightness is that when it's set to auto brightness, it can crank the entire panel up to 1300 nits when outdoors under bright daylight. So it's visible in most situations, even those which could be troubling to similarly affordable phones. And when the brightness does auto-adjust, it ramps up and down smoothly and not in awkward steps, so you don't particularly notice that it's happening. Now, it's clear when you're looking at a phone in the bottom third of the market that you're not getting a top-tier powerhouse that can crunch through highly intense games and AAA titles without breaking a sweat. So the Nothing Phone 3A clearly won't compete with the likes of the Galaxy S25 or OnePlus 13 in pure performance stakes. But against products of a similar price, it holds its own very well. In fact, again, I'd argue it outperforms its price tag. Inside, you'll find the Snapdragon 7S Gen 3, which is sort of towards the top end of the lower series chipsets. It means the phone has the engine to outperform phones like the Honor Magic 7 Lite, and is slightly more capable than the Moto Edge 50 Neo, and running it through benchmarks reveals as such. For casual use cases, it's got more than enough speed and fluidity to handle your everyday casual games. My own particular vice is Mario Kart Tour, and while levels or stages take a little longer to load than they would on a top-tier £1,000 smartphone, the actual gameplay is smooth and responsive, and battery life is strong too thanks to its 5000 mAh capacity. Now, it's worth noting here that my own particular use is generally towards the lighter end of the scale once I settle into my everyday casual use cases. It would be surprising for me to go over 3 hours of screen time in a day, but even on my heaviest days where I'm testing and watching an hour of Netflix, played half an hour of Mario Kart, did camera testing, and 30 to 60 minutes of web browsing plus a smattering of social media, reading sports news, I'd still struggle to drain half the battery in a full day. For someone like me then, it can quite comfortably be a 2-day battery. If you're a heavier user, I think you'd struggle to completely drain it in 1 day unless you're staring at the screen for 10 hours a day. Now, what I really appreciated was that even though there's no charger in the box, it can recharge at 50 watt speeds. In real terms, that means it can fully refill in under an hour or do a 50% charge in under 20 minutes. It's not blazing fast like some Chinese manufacturers manage, but it's fast enough to be really convenient and meant I didn't have to settle into a pattern of charging it every single night. I could just wait till it drains and charge it when it needs it. Now in the end, if you don't want to spend more than about £400 on a phone, of all the phones on the market, it's the Nothing Phone 3A that I'd recommend, pretty much without any hesitation. It does everything you need a phone to do, and it does it well and looks great. Plus it's part of an ecosystem of fun products like the Nothing Buds, which are also pretty cool. Let me know what you think. Is this the mid-range phone to buy right now? You can let me know in the comments down below or grab me on social media. I'm @CamBunton. If you did like this video, please do leave a thumbs up, subscribe and tap that notification bell, and I'll see you again in the next one. Thanks so much for watching. Bye bye.